You're joining the Loudr Lawyer Network, the podcast where we sit down with the law firm owners, attorneys, and visionaries that are making the most noise in the legal landscape nationwide to find out the secrets to their success. Other podcasts think they're getting loud, but we're getting louder. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to million-dollar months through powerful strategies and connections. And today on the podcast, I'm honored to welcome Eric Mausner. Eric, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks, Raje. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm good. It's Friday. It's sunny outside. We just got through a little heat wave down here in San Diego, but it's all good. Good.
No way your humidity's like mine down here in Miami.
Oh man, I've been to Miami. I can't even tell you the times that I've been stuck with. You walk outside and you've just taken a shower and you feel like you have to run right back in and take a shower after being out just for a few minutes.
Happened just yesterday. We were outside actually filming content in full suits in the middle of July. I think shirt was dripping wet, 45 minutes later this is like just walking, little bit of body movement, right? You're sweating.
Right. Oh man. I hope you brought a few shirts to change into.
Done it once or twice before. We're prepared.
Nice. So Eric, having you aboard, I'm so glad to have you aboard here and sharing your expertise with us, or just being able to relax and talk. I want you to take me back to the moment before you ever became an attorney. Yeah, take me on that journey. What was your mindset like? What led you into becoming an attorney? I know that you're 3 generations, correct?
Yeah. So this is an easy answer. Actually, I don't remember anything other than wanting to be a lawyer. I got a baby photo of mine, which I need to post on social media, wearing a bib that says future lawyer. My father was in the office yesterday and he found something from my childhood. And I was 5 years old and they're asking the kids in the class, what do you want to be? Someone says doctor. Someone said horse trainer. Someone said, I want to be a horse. This is a 5-year-old. And I said, I wanted to be a lawyer. So as far as I can remember, going into law was what I wanted to do. I felt like it was my rite of passage. I had you and your father and your grandfather, your role models, you got to follow them. But before I went into law, I was a bartender, waiter. I had some job. I was in hospitality, actually, high school, college. I worked at a golf course too. I was always in hospitality before I embarked on the legal career.
Oh, that's nice, man. So tell me about, that you already wanted to be an attorney since you were, say, before you could talk, right? So having that, what type of things did you find yourself doing then that you still kind of hold on today?
Like at what, like growing up or?
Yeah, growing up, all the little nuances that attorneys have.
I don't know if I got it from my father or grandfather, but I think being analytical is one of those, law naturally made me gravitate towards studying history and politics, government, right? All those topics kind of, transitioned me right into the legal career. But I would say probably in high school, the analytical skills start to form early on, and then it goes into college, and then you're in law school.
Right. What led you to becoming, because PI wasn't your first choice. Did that come gradually, or did that roll right out the gate with it?
I started my career in prosecution. So I worked at the Manhattan DA, Brooklyn DA as a paralegal, as an intern. I stayed there before law school, during law school. That led me to becoming a prosecutor in Miami-Dade County. So I was in criminal law for like 7 years as a support staff, and then as a prosecutor. And then ultimately I decided on personal injury.
what was it like prosecuting violent crimes, and what did that teach you about people during that time?
Well, believe it or not, I still have faith in humanity after seeing the dark side of it as a prosecutor in criminal court. But you start as a prosecutor handling misdemeanors, and I work my way up to felonies. You're trying cases, you're handling volume, you're trying to get justice for victims. You learn a lot how to triage, handle volume, handle a lot of fact patterns. You're trying to do the right thing on all the cases. At least that's how I saw it as a prosecutor. That's how I was trained. You know, my favorite white knight prosecutor quote was, a prosecutor's role is always to do the right thing when no one's looking. And do a good job as a prosecutor, you're you're cutting breaks, you're getting rid of the bad cases, you're going after the violent criminals. There's a lot of things that you're empowered to do as a prosecutor, and you should do. You don't need a defense attorney yelling at you. You should be able to make a lot of decisions on the files yourself. But I like that. I always like that quote. As prosecutor, you're always supposed to be doing the right thing when no one's looking. That's still a quote in life, right? And that should be the quote,
right?
As a personal injury lawyer, when you're helping victims of negligence now, right?
And that's one of the questions I've asked people. I say, what is the thing that you do when nobody's watching? What do you do when nobody's watching? And it's
other than dancing in front of the mirror of the shower, right? You're supposed to be doing the right things.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Tell me about a case that you'll always remember from your time in the 7 years being a prosecutor, that you'll always remember, not because of the verdict, but because of the person. How did that change your life, and how did it change you in being the type of attorney that you ultimately was and are?
Well, you're making me go back over a decade now, but I handled several sex crime cases, and those are particularly, what's the word? They are heartfelt. They are sad. They are very involved. Some are gruesome, disturbing. And that's a moment in time as a prosecutor where you genuinely get to help somebody. Someone is a rape victim or a sexual molestation victim. And your job is to get criminal justice there, which is punishment, right? You need to make sure someone is punished for violating the law and violating, someone's body. So I had cases where I could tell you I had teenagers molested by grown men. I had violent rape cases. We tried a case where a 34-year-old AC repairman molested a 14-year-old girl in a public school. And he picked her up and groomed her over 6 months. He wouldn't take a plea as a sex offender. And he was found guilty at trial, ended up getting maybe 15 years, followed by 10 years probation. So those cases, there wasn't necessarily one that rises to the top, but I'm giving you an example there.
Right.
Where you really get to help someone. You really get to put some bad guys away, which, in turn, you hope that makes the community safer, right? So they're not going to repeat, that they're not going to do that stuff again.
Right. No, and New York is better for having someone like you that handle those tough cases.
That was all in Miami as a prosecutor, just to clarify.
Oh.
But I was a paralegal at the New York DA's office before law school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything that you did is what was in Miami. This is all Miami.
Yes, as a prosecutor.
Okay. What led you down the path of personal injury?
A few things. We're sitting around the state attorney's office, me and a couple buddies, we're third-year prosecutors, and we're like, what's next? And this is 10 years ago. It was either go to a firm. We were deciding what area of law do we like? Where do our skills translate? And PI rose to the top as trial lawyers in the criminal side. You already have the courtroom experience, the deposition experience,
Right.
Experience dealing with volume, lots of facts, lots of crazy fact patterns. From criminal and PI have the most exciting, crazy fact patterns, right? If you're a lawyer, and then you're looking at areas of law, right? Like what's the most exciting? I think everyone agrees PI and criminal, right?
Right.
So one, you get to help people. Two, there was no billables. A lot of lawyers are on a billable hour structure. That's a grind. Three, it's very entrepreneurial. Four, you still get to be in the courtroom, try cases. And five, there's good financial upside. So there were a number of reasons why I went this route. And that it became clear to us kind of back, over 10 years ago, which way to go. You asked something earlier, like what skill sets you take, growing up, like, and I was listening to a lawyer recently talk about how he worked in hospitality. There's always the lawyer who says, I was a waiter or bartender, right? And I said, like, growing up, your analytical skills are really useful to embark on a career of law, but so are your hospitality skills. To kind of tie that backwards, like, because you're dealing with people. I don't deal with corporations, insurance companies. I represent individuals. I represent people like you, people like, your next door neighbor, anybody who's injured. So my clients come from every facet of life, literally every background, every socioeconomic background, every race, religion, ethnicity, language. Anybody can be a victim of negligence. Anybody can get hurt.
Absolutely.
One away. So those hospitality, you got to be able to connect with people. If you don't like talking to people and don't like interacting with the general public, you should not be a personal injury lawyer or a criminal defense lawyer. There's probably a corporate law or a transactional job waiting for you somewhere.
No, man, that's would you talk about hospitality, and don't take offense to this, but you remind me of one of the back in the day when I went to the clubs, the VIP host that would host and get our tables and just have that personable, interaction with.
How am I doing so far? Are you going to be buying bottles or what?
Hey, man, I would like load it up, bring them. No, absolutely, man. You just have that. You have that. You remind me of a friend of mine. I don't know if you know, in New York, Dr. Caderas. He used to be into the club scene, but he went into psychology and stuff, dealing with screen addictions and things of that nature. Dr. Caderas, who went the party route, but now he's in the world of servicing people and helping individuals, which, from all walks of life. I just love how you put that. Like, everyone falls victims to negligence or crime or accidents. It doesn't. There's no lines. Everything is there.
Your client could be a homeless schizophrenic, or it could be a guy worth $2 billion.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love how you put that. So tell me, man, how does you were a prosecutor and personal injury. Tell me the similarities in what you have to do in those fields and the differences, how you separate it. I know well, I'll let you're the expert. I'll let you tackle that one.
Well, the transition from criminal to civil is a big one, and I think most lawyers will agree. When you transition from being a prosecutor, no matter what field you go to in civil, if you don't have that background, you're kind of starting over. You got to learn civil procedure. You got to learn a substantive body of law. You may need to brush up on other topics. For example, going from PI, you also need to learn medicine. You have to learn how to read medical reports. You have to learn about medical treatment and injuries. If you don't have experience with that, that's just another thing to grasp onto. But I think as a prosecutor, you're trained to investigate, prepare, build a case, talk to witnesses, preserve evidence, right? That's useful skills. And that's kind of how me and my partners approach all of our PI cases. My partners are former prosecutors too. So you're already approaching every case. So how do I prove it in court? How do I preserve evidence? What do I need to prove this case? In criminal, right? Your burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. I got to prove this man's guilt beyond and to the exclusion of all reasonable doubt, which is high, right? Call it 99.9%. You got a little bit of doubt, you got to walk him. Not guilty, right? He's out. And that's his constitutional right. And defense attorneys will stand up and tell you that. If you've got doubt, that's it. Not guilty. But on the civil side, right, it's a lower standard. It's called preponderance of the evidence, which is more like, if I'm assigning numbers to it, don't take it as gospel, but I'm giving you the example. If beyond reasonable doubt it's 99%, preponderance of the evidence is like more than 50%, right? So it's a much lower burden to prove your PI case. But the mindset, the training helps, I think. It helps with the facts, like I said earlier. It helps with depositions and witnesses. It helps with preparing the case in a lot of ways. It's different. It's a big transition. It's very different. The games of the civil world and what the defense attorneys play and how it operates, very, very different. But the mindset is helpful. And that's not a mindset you learn in law school. Like, you have to go to a prosecutor's office and learn how to prove a case. That was one of the biggest shocks, even working in prosecution, going to law school, and then landing at the Dade County State Attorney's Office. That's when you learn how to actually work a case, right? And they drop you right in trial right away.
Right. Do you take me back to your first trial moment, your first trial, and how that, regardless of the verdict, how did that shape you in moving forward in practicing law?
We first jury trial was the first month as a lawyer. We tried a DUI. I was like shocked that it happens that fast, in government like that. So a gentleman was arrested by a police officer, DUI. He refused the breathalyzer. So we didn't have any evidence. We didn't have any of the science on our side, right? So we couldn't establish he was above a 0.08. But what we had was the officer's observations, right? Odor of alcohol, bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, whatever else it was. There may have been an empty beer can in the car. So that might have been a good fact for us. So this gentleman was a first-time offender, wouldn't take a plea. I don't think he had a public defender. I don't think he fully understood the system. He was from Latin America. He might have been from Cuba. And I don't think he spoke English well, but he had Spanish-speaking lawyers. There was court translators, but I just don't think the guy understood what the hell was going on. So we tried him. We found him guilty. That's your first case. It was a shocking experience. And then because he had no priors, my partner and I decided just to ask for a guilty conviction, probation, and fines, and no jail. And we actually got scolded by the judge after the fact and our fellow prosecutors back at the office that we didn't ask for jail time. It was a misdemeanor. So at most, I think he was facing up to a year on that particular charge. But we just said, you know what, this guy's an idiot and he's got no priors. We're just going to make him a felon, or not felon, or is a misdemeanor conviction, not even a felony conviction. And let's move on. But we got shit for that. Can I curse on here?
Of course, man. I said truth. I said your truth.
We got shit for not asking for jail time, and like that just. We still felt like we were doing the right thing. Like, we didn't want to give the guy a trial tax, as the lawyers will call it, right? He was exercising his constitutional right, probably because he didn't know what the hell was going on and didn't realize he was getting a good offer before trial. But we just said, you know what? What's 10 days in jail going to do anyway to this old Cuban guy? We're like, let's just move on. So we didn't ask for jail. The judge gave us a look and then said some stuff to us afterwards in chambers. And then that was the end of it. On to the next case. And we had our first guilty. And we were like 27-year-old, 28-year-old lawyers.
Wow. Yeah. That's riding high on the horse right there.
we were heroes in the office for a couple of days, and then it simmers down, and there's so much volume going through that office. So everybody's going to trial and getting that experience.
So being a prosecutor, because prosecutors you guys are hard-nosed, you're tough, and you really are compassionate about the victim. the approach that you have there is, you're up against everything. You're up against defense that are going to be defending that, and like you said, you're proving something beyond a reasonable doubt. How did that transition for you in approaching the civil aspect and dealing with like the insurance companies and things of that nature?
Again, I think the best part of the prosecutor experience is the trial experience, fact patterns, the connections, that overall experience is very helpful. I think early on in your career, it's a residency.
Right.
The second you transition, it's like a whole new ball game. It's like moving from Miami to New York, right? You're just starting brand new in a new field of law. And all your experiences help in life. Everything kind of builds on each other, right? But I wasn't prepared to be a PI lawyer that first year or two. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I went to work for a firm with guys who were doing PI law for 30, 40 years. They're still there going. Like I was quiet. I was nervous. I didn't know what was going on. It took a while. You learn fast from these guys. They're businessmen. They're civil trial lawyers. You learn how their brains think real quick, but there's a lot of civil procedure to learn. There's medicine to learn. How do you talk to clients? How do you deal with the insurance companies? How do you evaluate a case? This stuff, this is stuff it takes years to figure out.
Right. I love what you just said right now, which you said you went to work for someone else in terms of doing PI. What case or what happened along the way in the PI world where it spoke to you and said, Eric, you can go out here and do this. You can build your own. You can do your own thing. What was that moment like?
It was more, I actually got it. Plaintiffs' lawyers are very entrepreneurial because we don't bill, right? We have to go out there and find cases, and we have to build a pipeline. And you also have to be very mindful of the economics of your own case because the goal is to put the most money in your client's pocket. So you have to be evaluating your own cases, evaluating your business, and knowing your data, right? So you're naturally, you have to be entrepreneurial, and you have to learn this stuff. You have to learn how to be a businessman. You have to learn the finances. So I think I realized that I could build my own business is once I realized I enjoyed bringing in business. I enjoyed networking, business development. I started bringing in cases, a few, that first year. And I could tell the partners didn't want me. They didn't need me to do that. They didn't want me to do that. They wanted me to stay in my lane as an associate. Problem was they weren't paying me well enough. And I was pissed off about that. So, your bank account's empty at the end of the month. You're working like a dog. You don't like who you're working for. And then you realize you can make more money by bringing in business. And even your cut of that case wasn't enough. So I quickly realized that I enjoyed the business development side of this very much. So here I am 10 years later with my own firm and 18 people. Right. So.
Right. That confidence that what you exuded is a lot of leadership, and having that confidence in taking that leap.
After that firm, which I was there for a year, I went to work for another kind of personal injury firm called a mass tort firm. And that firm handles dangerous drugs and defective products. And I helped manage that caseload. I started my own business. And at that point, I was a fifth-year lawyer. Like looking back, I wouldn't have done it, what I've done. But it's too late now where it worked. And here I am, running my own firm. But early on, it was just, there was no other opportunity at that point that I liked. I was working for this lawyer. I was of counsel. He's like, manage my cases, don't fuck them up, and go start your own business. So I just started bringing in cases, and it just kind of grew and grew. And then I was making money that I knew nobody was going to pay me at that age and that experience. And there was no turning back. I haven't had to shut shut it down and go join anybody. So here we are.
That's beautiful, man. What a
So,
story. You said you mentioned you have.
Let me cut you off. When I started my firm, I had one slip and fall case. Like, it's psychotic. And when I tell this to other lawyers, and I'm not alone. There are the lawyer out there. The lawyer who starts his own business out of law school with no experience, out of his mind. Okay. I did it 5 years in. I was still out of my mind. And I had one case. I had to wait 11 months to get paid on it. And then, but I started getting more cases in that time, and I was building the pipeline. To build a PI firm, I think a lot of guys will agree, it could take 5 years. It depends. Do you have the cases to start turning over? Or are you getting it from scratch? So for me, I was doing it from scratch. I wouldn't have done it again and wouldn't tell anybody to do it that way, unless you can bankroll yourself, or you got dual income, or you just want it so bad, or something.
Right. How did you go about being able to bring in work in your pipeline? Tell me about the early days.
It was all networking. It still is networking in every way possible. The best cases come by referral. Other lawyers, former clients, current clients, family, friends. Your own network has to be mined repeatedly for cases, right? You got to touch everybody and stay on top of mind. But I get cases from digital advertising now, and also by referral still. I'm in networking groups, and I do everything we can.
Do you find yourself, getting a lot of cases these days?
Yeah, the firm's as busy as it's ever been. Always want more, but it's a competitive space, and we're probably in a top 5 competitive market.
Right. No, absolutely. You mentioned you have 18 employees. What type of qualities do you look for in building your firm? The personalities, the mindset of these individuals. How did you go about that process?
Yeah, I have a director of operations now. She's been with me a year, and she helps with a lot of the HR and the hiring. But our goal is to hire people who are absolutely passionate about helping injured people. That's the starting point. Like, if you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to help people when they're going through some of their worst moments, or moments that are just total headaches in life, then there's a lot of other areas of law for you to go in. There's a lot of other professions and industries if you don't want to deal with people going, in their worst moments. So we start with people who are very compassionate, want to help people, very detail oriented, patient, team player, right? Embody the core values, right? All the things that go into, I think, making a PI firm successful. So,
well said. Well said. In your professional opinion, in your opinion, period, is talent or character harder to teach?
Character, I think. You got to have people around you with the right mindset and perspective and attitude, right?
Right.
I think with some people, the writing's on the wall. You can't change them, right? Some people maybe you can mold, but I think you have to have the right mindset, the character, because from there, then you can develop the talents,
No, absolutely. When you think about success, what success means to you today versus 10 years ago, how do you measure that, and how do you define that?
I haven't been asked that question in a while. Everyone likes to say is success is that happiness, flexibility, autonomy. I think you can't put a price on that. Those are things I think a lot of people sacrifice when you go to work for other people. So, having made the journey I look backwards the last 9-10 years, to grow year over year, professionally, financially, or, from a business perspective, to have the business grow year over year, I would define success that way. And we're talking professionally, right? We're talking in the business realm. I mean, we can find success is health, good health, right?
Absolutely.
And a happy home.
Absolutely. No,
right?
absolutely.
Having the basics of life, which what you need, low overhead, right?
Right. No, I feel that. I feel that absolutely. Has there ever been a case where doing the right thing mattered more than maximizing the financial outcome?
Yeah, we do this all the time. Sometimes cases are upside down. We want the client to be happy. So if we have to, maybe we'll reduce a fee. We'll do what we can to make sure the client gets the majority of the money. I actually, I had a conversation today with my partner. I've got this dram shop case, which is a DUI case. A bar overserves somebody, they're right. DUI, and they go out and kill somebody or seriously hurt someone. So I'm working a case like that, and the bar doesn't have insurance, unfortunately, for this kind of incident. So the bar is exposed.
Wow.
So the property owner, which is the same person. So I was talking to my partner about it. We're trying to navigate. We're talking to the insurance company. We think there's some issues here. I won't go into detail right now, in part because it's an active case. But if we can't find coverage, can the bar owner afford to pay us, right? Just so we can get something for the victims. And I say us, the clients. So at this point, it's like I would get my costs back, severely reduce my fee, just to try to get the victims some money here. There was no insurance on the vehicles, so the only way we could recover is maybe something from the bar who overserved the driver. Let me ask you a question, actually. So this person, DUI driver, was intoxicated. Well, she was known to the bar as a regular, as a drunk, which is a requirement. She might have been served a couple drinks that night, at least one or two, maybe more. The bartender recognized she was drunk, actually tried to take her keys and her cell phone, not let her drive. Mm-hmm. But under threats from her and her group of friends and some chaos there, the bartender gave her back the keys. She ends up driving off the property at 2 a.m. and 40 minutes later, she's in this terrible crash 10, 15 miles away. Wow. Do you think the bar has liability at that point, knowing she may have served her a couple of drinks, but the bartender still took it upon herself to take the keys, recognizing, this woman's not capable of driving a car, but then gave it back to her? What do you think of that?
I think that his initial cause for taking the keys, he should have probably stood on that principle.
Finish the job.
Huh?
Yeah. Finish the job, right?
Finish the job and/or seek professional help, to help with that, because he foresaw something happening. And if that was his gut feeling, he should have stuck with that and seen it out.
Called management, called security or something.
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
Yeah. None of that happened. So we think there's some liability on the bar and the property, but now the issue is coverage. But I'm going to try to get the victim something here, if possible. We'll see. That's it's a long answer to your question.
That says a lot about your the acronym that I'll tell you later about who you are, man. The fact that you put that back on me to ask me that situation, I mean, in a way, it's like common sense. I mean, I came from the promoting world, and I would always be on the lookout, because I'm in a situation where I'm providing a good time for people, and you don't want people hopping in the car. With these days now, Uber's there, Lyft. There's so many things out there that could have been done differently so that problem wouldn't arise. And I mean, unfortunately, you guys are in the business that DUI still is a major component out there. Not only with alcohol, but other things that are involved. People get too buzzed, they get too high, and they still feel they can get behind the wheel and operate. And I think, it's a kind of boldness that makes you dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Have you ever had a case that you've had to turn down, not take?
Turn down cases all the time. Well, it's part of being selective. So you have myself. I, like most injury lawyers, you'll have criteria on the kinds of cases you're going to take. There's three parts of most injury cases, right? Liability, damages, insurance. Right. So you got to prove liability, who's at fault, who was negligent, how are we proving that, right? That's going to vary depending on the kind of case. What are the injuries and damages? And then the third part, collectability, insurance, right? Where are we recovering money to compensate the injured? So, with that analysis in mind, you turn down cases all the time if you can't hit those three prongs, right? In some fashion. So every day our firm is turning down cases, to answer your question. Now there are cases too. Sometimes you go into them thinking someone's maybe more injured than they claim, or the liability might be more strong than you thought, and you have to get out of it. It happens. But hopefully you do enough thorough job up front screening it during your intake. You're not spending too much time on cases that, may not go anywhere. We talk to our clients about this stuff too. So clients are educated, how we're thinking, what they're looking at, and then we can formulate a medical management and a strategy and a treatment plan and a lot of things around that, depending on the case. Look, so we handle auto cases, slip and falls, boating cases. We've done some negligent security, civil sex assault, done, and my new law partner does medical malpractice too. So it's like 6 areas of PI that the firm is looking at.
Right. And I like what you stated earlier when you were saying that making the transition from prosecution into like PI, there are new things, new nuances that you have to learn in terms of medical, the doctors, the insurance companies, which is a big component of pursuing a personal injury case and knowing how they're thinking. What has been your biggest challenge in dealing with insurance companies?
A lot of delays, I think. You see delays with the insurance companies. We're litigating most of our cases now, or at least half the cases that come to the firm could end up in litigation. That's to get the insurance company to take it seriously and their defense attorneys. A lot of times the case will start in the claim stage for, let's say, car crashes, for example, right? Yeah. When you're in the claim stage, sometimes these insurance companies will delay. They don't take it seriously. They don't make you the right offer. So you've got to work the case up, file a lawsuit, take it to court to maximize it for the client. I see it it depends too on the insurance company, or the corporation, but you see a lot of corporate delay. I could think of one major company that does hotel-like bookings around the world and around the country. They like to delay heavily on their claims.
And when someone delays heavily, that just puts you in defense mode.
You got to you have to file a lawsuit, or you got to start harassing these guys to start getting an answer. I think a lot of it has to do too. These insurance companies are processing so many claims, right?
Right.
Thousands of claims, right? Like imagine how many open claims there are at State Farm or Geico right now around the country.
Right. Or Progressive, for that matter. I mean,
all the big auto carriers. So
it's and trying to weave through that is probably like being in the ocean.
Which is which is a pitch on why we tell clients, don't do it yourself. You don't know how to present your damages. You don't know how to handle that case. The carrier will take advantage of you wherever they can. Sometimes you get those stubborn clients once in a while. I want to do it myself.
Right. Does at any time that you've been practicing in the PI world, have things become overwhelming? And if so, how do you handle that? What habit do you do to prepare yourself when you're going to go into litigation for a client?
We're very organized at the office. We're very prepared. We've got good processes. So I think as long as you are super organized and you're always going to be prepared, I think you can kind of fend off the headaches that come with practicing law. And honestly, right now, there's so many tools at our disposal with artificial intelligence coming on board. It really helps with just saving time and killing the monotony, the drudgery of practicing law. So you can get prepared really quick with certain kinds of filings and documents and summaries and demand letters, like you summarizing medical records and depositions. So I'm actually finding these tools to be so efficient if you're using them properly. And of course, a lawyer always has to edit the product of AI of Claude or ChatGPT, right? But I think that's the answer to your question. Just staying organized, being ready.
Right. And I like what you said about AI. AI is a tool, just like the internet was a tool for us to be able to use. And you have to have the knowledge to be able to use those different forms of AI. So you're spot on what you said. Having the preparation, it just helps the things go a little faster. When I was in school, I'm 61 years old. So when I was in school, I had to, go to the library and research encyclopedias and books to get information. Whereas, nowadays the kids got it easy. You can just tap in a keyword and everything's there for you. I'm laughing at that because I just can't believe I'm 61 years old. And yes,
I thought you were much younger, man.
Hey man, 61. That's God's grace.
I didn't. You look great. I didn't think you had a 6 in front of that at all. Didn't even.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I say that to say that the way the technology has moved throughout life, it's a friend if you know how to use it properly.
Yeah, actually, I was talking to my father. I remember a lawyer I worked for years ago. He used to talk about to do legal research, you'd have to go down to the law library and dig through books. I mean, that just sounds awful. I mean, we've had Westlaw, which is the legal research database, LexisNexis. That's what lawyers use and that's where you have all the bodies of law stored for lawyers, and it's at your fingertips. The thought of going to, I grew up, I know what life is like before social media and tech, because we had that in the 90s, right? But the thought of having to practice law without Westlaw or being able to look up cases sounds ridiculous, actually.
No, I can imagine. Is there something that you're still trying to prove to yourself when you're practicing, or have you pretty much hit every goal or obstacle?
No way, man. I'm just getting started.
Okay.
I'm 41.
Okay. Looking good.
I'm still considered a baby lawyer.
Oh yeah, you're still a baby lawyer, man. Still a baby lawyer.
I'm 14 years in with my own firm, but I'm still a baby lawyer in the eyes of the profession. So I'm just getting started.
And how do you protect your reputation in an industry where trust is everything?
Look, you got to have integrity. You got to be honest. You got to be candid with opposing counsel, with insurance companies, with clients. And I think people start to know you're no bullshit and you're honest. I think results also help too. So it's good to get results, show the world you're not just talk, but you're getting results. So, but yeah, reputation is critical. It takes years to build and seconds to destroy. So it's critical. It's really important for lawyers, and it can take decades to build.
Right. So I'm gonna do a little part of now what I call rapid fire. So I got a little series of questions. Some of them may catch you off guard, but it's great for content. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. Biggest fear.
I don't know, man. Biggest fear that my business is going to shut down.
All right. Favorite place to unplug.
Beach.
Best piece of advice you've ever received.
Trust the process. Don't rush the process.
Trust the process. Don't rush the process. Love that one. That one sticks. One word your team would use to describe you.
Wait, I want to go back. I got another good piece of advice. I'll quote my father. There's no problems in life, only solutions. All right. So you got two sound bites there.
Yeah, yeah. You got two sound bites. That one right there. That's for you. That's for you. But I'm taking them. They're right there. One word your team would use to describe you.
Ready. They say they gave me an award during our holiday party. It was the Always On Award or something like that. So
the Always On Award. If you weren't a lawyer, I think you kind of covered this, but I'm asking you anyway. If you weren't a lawyer, what would you be? What would Eric be?
I'd go into tech in a meaningful way. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is that like the question? Could you do it again? Like go. Probably tech. I'd be in tech.
Be in tech.
Yeah.
One thing that people misunderstand about you.
I think people think I'm more serious than I am often, but that's okay. It comes with the role, I guess.
Right. So listening to you, and the research I did on you, I came up with this acronym about you, which I thought was good. E, empowering those around you who have been hurt. R, restoring hope when life changes unexpectedly. The I, for inspiring confidence through preparation and honesty. I mean, I've listened to you talk, and you have flowed effortlessly between the different genres of law that you practice, and the same principles have stuck with you in terms of your preparation and honesty, and I think that stands out. That's huge. And then C, championship, justice for every client. You just sat here and told me about a client that you're trying to help that was injured because of the negligence of a bar that gave someone the keys, and you're still finding a way to stand up and champion for that individual. So the words for you would be empowering, restoring hope, inspiring confidence, and champion justice.
I like that. I like that. We'll have to write that down when we get the recording.
Yeah, no, that speaks volumes from a third generation attorney who has, seen it from all sides, and how you've managed to make the transition. As you say, you're still in your baby stages, your infant stages of, being around people who have been in the PI space 35, 40 years. And the impact that you've made, already having 18 employees, that's strong, man. That's strong. I tip my hat off to you. Well done.
I appreciate it. It's one big hustle.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. But it's a hustle that is selfless. It goes beyond oneself. And you don't seem like the type of attorney. There are attorneys who present themselves in not the right suit, if you will. You know what I mean? There's a pun in that, but no pun intended in that, but there is a pun in it that attorneys wear suits sometimes that don't fit them. That's not the case with you.
I appreciate that. I like that. I might borrow that one.
Hey, that's what we're here for, man. That's what we're here for. So when you hear the term Loudr Lawyer, what does Loudr Lawyer mean to you?
Yeah, you asked that question early on, and it's funny, when I first looked at Loudr Lawyer, I didn't even, when you guys were emailing me, Loudr Lawyer, I don't even think I said the name or processed the name. It looked like a last name, or it's like a misspelling of Loudr, right? So
that's intentful. That the marketing guys in there intentfully did that.
Yeah, I get it, and it didn't even, when I looked at it, I didn't even register it, think about it. But now that you're pointing it out, you're asking a question about it. I mean, look, it could be the loudest lawyer in the room, the lawyer giving a voice to the injured. I see, it's a trial lawyer who's standing up for his client, making sure they're heard, making sure the story's told, and getting them justice. That's what a Loudr lawyer, or the loudest lawyer, can be.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is, whether they're championing for someone's injury rights in court or criminal rights, or, lawyers keep our entire country safer, right?
Absolutely.
In all directions.
Yeah.
When shit goes wrong, you're calling your lawyers, right? Solve problems.
Absolutely.
We take a lot of crap for it, but I think it's a nation of lots of layers of law enforcement and lots of lawyers, and it hopefully keeps this country headed on the right path, despite all the crazy politics too.
Right, and I think you would like to think most attorneys, the profession you happen to go in, you're a lawyer, but before you're a lawyer, you're a human being, and a lot of lawyers come with compassion and things of that nature. You have to have a good feel about life, what it means to be human, what it means what it means for justice, what it means for doing the right thing, even when it's wrong. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And I think that,
or even when it comes at sacrifice, right?
Right. And I think it's important for, regardless of what field of law you're in, being human is at the top of the case. So I think you do an excellent job at that, and your reputation speaks for you, Eric. Very loud.
Appreciate that.
And so, how do people find you? How do they find you? Drop your digits.
So, the firm's main line, 305-344-4878. We handle injury and accident cases all around Florida. We're all over. You can find us on Google, all over social media too. MG Injury Firm is our handle. MG Injury Firm. The phone, you can message us online. You can email us, info@mginjuryfirm.com. We even have a chat bot on the website. We're accessible. It's Mausner Group Injury Law, Miami, Florida. So we have a couple different offices too. We have an office in Fort Lauderdale now too.
Very nice. So, well, Eric, I appreciate you being a guest here. Learned so much from you. I enjoyed talking with you. You're a very enlightening human being, and I appreciate your honesty and your integrity, man.
It's good to meet you. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks for being a part of the Loudr Lawyer Network. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe to never miss a thing. We'll see you next time right here on the Loudr Lawyer Network.